We all want to be happy. We chase it every single day through our phones, through food, through validation, through work. We tell ourselves, I just need one more thing, one more message, one more like, one more moment. But here's the paradox. The more we chase pleasure, the emptier it begins to feel. Your brain was designed for balance, not constant stimulation. Every time you feel pleasure, dopamine, the chemical of motivation and reward, surges in your brain. But what most people don't realize is that dopamine is part of a system that demands equilibrium. Every high is followed by an equal and opposite low. So when we keep giving our brains one hit after another, scrolling endlessly, eating without hunger, working without rest, the system becomes overwhelmed. The brain begins to compensate by lowering dopamine sensitivity. The things that once made you happy begin to feel dull. The food tastes the same. The music doesn't hit. Even success feels flat. That's not depression. That's depletion. You see, your brain doesn't want more pleasure. It wants balance. But we've built a world that's designed to break that balance. Notifications that pull us every 10 seconds. Sugar in every meal. Entertainment on every screen. We're drowning in abundance, yet starving for peace. The constant pursuit of pleasure has become the very reason we can't feel it anymore. The science is simple. Every time we flood our reward system, we push the brain into pain mode. The dopamine baseline drops, and we need even more stimulation to feel, okay, this is why silence feels unbearable, why rest feels boring, why peace feels foreign. Our nervous system has forgotten what calm feels like. But here's the truth most people never realize. Your brain can heal. It just needs time and it needs stillness. When you stop chasing constant pleasure, at first you'll feel worse. The world will seem gray, empty, restless, but that's your brain detoxing from overstimulation. It's the same process your body goes through when it's recalibrating. Within that discomfort lies the door to balance. The key isn't cutting out all pleasure. It's learning to choose it consciously. Replace quick highs with deep joys. Instead of scrolling, walk. Instead of numbing, breathe. Instead of seeking noise, seek silence. Your dopamine system will begin to reset. You'll start to feel again the sweetness of a quiet morning, the depth of a real conversation, the warmth of sunlight on your skin. This is what real happiness feels like. Not a rush, but a rhythm. True happiness isn't found in the peaks of pleasure, but in the space between them. It's the peace of knowing you don't need to chase the next thing to feel whole. You are not broken because you crave more. You're simply living in a world that has taught you to confuse stimulation with joy. But the moment you choose awareness over impulse, presence over escape, you take your power back. Happiness doesn't come from avoiding pain or chasing pleasure. It comes from understanding both. Because balance isn't found by denying life. It's found by feeling it fully. So today, give your brain what it's been begging for. Rest, space, stillness. Let the highs and lows settle into harmony. Let your mind remember what peace feels like. Because the truth is, pleasure is fleeting. But peace? Peace lasts. Most people think they're exhausted because they've worked too much, slept too little, or aged too quickly. But the truth, Janny, is far subtler and far more powerful. You're not tired because your body is weak. You're tired because your nervous system has forgotten what stillness feels like. Every moment of your day is designed to keep you alert. Your phone lights up with notifications before your eyes even adjust to the morning light. Caffeine jolts your bloodstream before your mind finds its rhythm. You scroll while eating, you reply while walking, and you fill silence with music or noise. Not because you want to, but because your brain no longer trusts silence. This constant stimulation confuses your body. It floods you with dopamine, cortisol, and adrenaline. The same chemicals meant to help you escape danger or chase opportunity. But now they're being released not because you're hunting food or running from threats, but because your mind is chasing novelty, distraction, and instant reward. The result? Fatigue that sleep can't fix. Your body is overstimulated, not underrested. When you lie in bed and still can't switch off, when your mind races though you're physically still, that's not weakness, it's withdrawal. Your nervous system is detoxing from constant input. Every ping, buzz, or burst of pleasure has taught your brain to expect something new every few seconds. So when nothing happens, when peace arrives, your system panics. It thinks something's wrong. That's why modern fatigue feels so strange. You rest, but you don't feel rested. You sleep, but you wake up empty. Because true rest isn't the absence of activity. It's the restoration of rhythm, and we've forgotten how to restore it. The first step to healing this overstimulation is awareness. Notice the urge to check your phone, even when nothing's happening. Notice how silence feels awkward, almost unbearable. That discomfort is not boredom, it's withdrawal. It's your brain begging for balance. So start small. Sit in silence for 2 minutes before your first sip of coffee. Walk without your headphones. Watch the sunrise without filming it. It will feel unnatural at first, like stepping off a moving treadmill, but slowly your body will remember how to breathe again. Your heartbeat will find its pace. Your thoughts will begin to soften. Energy doesn't come from doing more. It comes from doing less with presence. The body, when allowed to rest, doesn't lose momentum. It restores power. Stillness is not laziness, it's recalibration. So, the next time you say, "I'm tired," ask yourself, are you truly drained or just overloaded? Because when you finally learn to pause, Janny, you'll realize your energy was never gone. It was just buried under the noise. We live in a world that sells pleasure like oxygen. It's everywhere, disguised as comfort, convenience, and happiness. From the first sip of coffee to the last scroll before sleep, every small burst of dopamine whispers the same promise. You deserve this, and yes, Johnny, you do, but what no one tells you is that every pleasure you chase has a price, one your brain quietly pays in silence. Dopamine, the brain's pleasure chemical, was never meant to be a constant companion. It was designed for balance, a wave that rises with excitement and falls into calm. But modern life doesn't allow the fall. We chase the high again and again, whether through food, caffeine, screens, shopping, or likes on social media, and every chase pushes that balance further away. Imagine your brain as a set of scales. On one side is pleasure, on the other is pain. When you flood your system with too much pleasure, the brain automatically pushes back to restore equilibrium. It tilts the scale by creating pain, anxiety, irritability, fatigue, emptiness. You feel it as burnout, loss of motivation, or that haunting sense that nothing feels good anymore. That's not depression. That's the debt of dopamine, Dr. Anna Lembke calls this dopamine deficit, and it's the silent epidemic of our generation. It's why even when you're surrounded by comfort, you can't find peace. Every pleasure borrowed today is calm taken from tomorrow. And the more you try to fill that inner void with stimulation, the deeper it becomes. But here's the truth, Janny. Pleasure itself isn't the enemy. It's the imbalance that kills your energy. You don't have to give up joy. You just have to give it space to breathe. When you allow moments of discomfort between your pleasures, when you rest before the next coffee, when you stay offline after dinner, when you sit through a craving instead of feeding it, you begin to reset the system. You teach your brain to find reward not in excess but in balance. Recovery starts not when you cut out all pleasure, but when you start noticing it. The first bite of food, the first ray of morning light, the first deep breath after a long day, those are real pleasures, small but powerful. They don't demand, they don't drain, they simply restore. So, ask yourself, Johnny, what pleasures are you borrowing from your future peace? Because energy, like money, needs wise investment. Spend your dopamine carefully on what nourishes you, not what numbs you. When you learn this rhythm, life stops feeling like a chase and starts feeling like a flow. True pleasure doesn't leave you empty. It leaves you whole. And that's the secret. The highest joy is never found in the rush, but in the calm that follows. Your mind is not a machine, Johnny. It's not built to be switched on from dawn till midnight, running on caffeine, screens, and constant thought. It's a living rhythm, a tide that must rise and fall. But somewhere in our pursuit of more, we stop letting it breathe. We replace reflection with reaction, silence with sound, and presence with pressure. And slowly, without realizing it, we began to suffocate in our own thoughts. Every day, your brain processes thousands of stimuli, notifications, conversations, memories, worries. It's like a river that keeps flowing but never gets the chance to settle. The water becomes murky, heavy with debris, and soon the current weakens. That's exactly what happens when your mind is overstimulated. It loses clarity. You start forgetting, overthinking, feeling overwhelmed. It's not because you're weak, Janny. It's because you're drowning in noise. Healing begins the moment you stop trying to control every thought and start allowing space between them. The mind heals in the same way the body does, through rest, rhythm, and oxygen. When you pause, when you step away from your screen, close your eyes and simply breathe, you're not doing nothing. You're creating conditions for repair. The prefrontal cortex, the part of your brain responsible for focus and decision-making, resets when you're still, your nervous system calms, your hormones rebalance. The chaos begins to settle, but silence at first feels uncomfortable, almost threatening. We've been trained to fill it. You might sit down for a minute and instantly reach for your phone. That impulse isn't boredom. It's withdrawal, your mind, addicted to stimulation, mistakes stillness for emptiness. Yet that very emptiness is where healing hides. Try this, Johnny. Spend 5 minutes a day doing nothing. Just breathe and listen. Listen to your breath, the sound of the air, the small movements around you. You'll notice thoughts rising, worries, memories, random to-do lists. Don't chase them. Let them pass like clouds. That's the breath your mind has been waiting for. Over time, this small ritual rewires your brain. The amygdala, your fear center, quiets down. The default mode network, your inner narrator, becomes less dominant. You start thinking less about the past or future and more about what is. This presence isn't a spiritual fantasy. It's a biological restoration. When the mind breathes, it doesn't just heal, it transforms. You begin to see your life not as a race, but as a rhythm. You respond instead of reacting. You notice the beauty in ordinary things, the warmth of sunlight, the sound of water, the stillness between breaths. That's where peace lives. So, the next time you feel anxious or drained, don't reach for more noise. Give your mind what it truly craves, space. Because silence isn't empty, Jenny. It's full of everything you've been missing in a world that celebrates movement. Stillness has become an act of rebellion. We're told to hustle harder, achieve more, stay busy, as if exhaustion is a badge of honor. But Johnny, real strength has never been about speed. It's about silence, the courage to stop running. Not because you've given up, but because you finally understand you don't need to chase what's already within you. Think about it. When was the last time you sat in silence without reaching for your phone, without checking a message, without distracting yourself? For most people, stillness feels unnatural, even frightening. Because in that quiet, everything we've been avoiding starts to surface. Regret, loneliness, fear, emptiness. But that's where transformation begins. Strength isn't the ability to escape discomfort. It's the ability to stay present through it. Dr.Anna Lembke often says that our brain's reward system is like a pendulum. Every time we seek pleasure, it swings one way. But if we constantly chase stimulation, it must swing back into pain. True power, then, lies not in feeding the pendulum, but in holding it steady. That's what stillness is. Balance in the storm. When you resist the urge to escape, to scroll, to snack, to speak, you're training the deepest part of your brain, your discipline. It's like building a muscle, invisible but strong. Each moment you choose awareness over impulse, you strengthen your prefrontal cortex, the part of your brain responsible for self-control, judgment, and long-term vision. And that's the real foundation of strength. Not the body, but the brain that commands it. Stillness doesn't mean doing nothing. It means doing something profound. Listening to your thoughts without reacting. Listening to your body without judging. Listening to your emotions without drowning in them. In that silence, truth begins to speak. You start to see the difference between desire and need, between noise and meaning. Imagine sitting by a lake on a windy day. The water ripples, the reflection distorts. But when the wind stops, the water becomes still, and the reflection becomes clear again. That's your mind in stillness. It's not that clarity was missing. It was always there, hidden beneath the waves. So, the next time life pushes you, when you feel the urge to act, to fix, to move, pause, breathe, feel the weight of the silence. It's not emptiness, it's space. The kind where real strength grows. Because strength is not loud, Jenny. It doesn't demand attention. It's the quiet power of restraint, the peace of someone who no longer needs to prove anything. In stillness, you stop reacting to the world and start responding to your own truth. That's where mastery begins. We've been taught to chase happiness like a finish line, as if it's something waiting at the end of achievement, money, or recognition. But Jenny, happiness isn't a peak moment. It's a pattern, a rhythm that flows through ordinary life, quietly, patiently, waiting to be noticed. The problem is we're moving too fast to hear its beat. Everywhere we look, the world screams more excitement, more productivity, more pleasure. But in this constant race for more, we lose the one thing that makes joy sustainable: balance. The brain, much like music, needs pauses to create melody. Without stillness, even the sweetest moments become noise. Dr.Anna Lembke often says that the path to balance lies in understanding the brain's rhythm, the dance between pleasure and pain. When you flood your mind with constant highs through sugar, social media, or even ambition, the brain compensates by lowering its baseline happiness. What once felt thrilling now feels normal. What was once peaceful now feels boring. And so we push harder for another rush, another dopamine hit, another reason to feel alive. But happiness, real happiness, doesn't live in the high. It lives in the space between highs. In the calm moments when you can simply be. Think about the warmth of sunlight on your skin, the sound of rain, the laughter that doesn't need a camera, or the quiet satisfaction after helping someone. These aren't adrenaline-fueled moments. They're rhythmic, gentle, human. And that's why they last. When you stop treating happiness as a destination and start treating it as a rhythm, life begins to breathe again. You no longer fear boredom, you welcome it. You don't crave chaos, you create harmony. Each day stops being a race and becomes a cycle. Effort followed by rest, motion followed by stillness. Happiness is not intensity, it's consistency. It's the ability to stay grounded when things go right and graceful when they don't. It's in the way you return to balance after every emotional storm. Because joy isn't found in the moments when everything's perfect. It's found in your ability to stay open even when it's not. Imagine a heartbeat. It rises and falls again and again. If it ever stopped moving, we'd die. Life itself depends on rhythm. The same is true for happiness. We need our ups and downs to feel alive. The goal isn't to avoid the lows, it's to trust that they'll rise again. So stop chasing happiness like a prize. Let it find you in the quiet. Sit in the morning sun, taste your food, feel your breath. That's where rhythm begins, not in the rush, but in the return. Because the happiest people aren't those who always feel high. They are the ones who've learned to dance gracefully between joy and peace.